all of a sudden you have changed heritages? Tell the people what you did.
I have a date this...
I'll tell them what you did. Joey fancies a spray tan, and that's fine. And he's got to wait, 24 hours to rinse it off. And every once in a while, I see him before the rinse off, and it's
offensive.
It's offensive.
I know.
I don't know who it's offensive to, but mostly I feel like it's the people from Jersey Shore, because you look like a Guido Juicehead.
I look like an Oompa Loompa, a horny little Oompa Loompa, and now I found my new Grindr username. Rick, roll the music!
You might be an Oompa Loompa, but you are my Oompa Loompa. Does that make it better?
Thank you very much. You took your beanie off. Y'all missed it earlier. Ellen was cosplaying as Alanis Morissette. It was amazing. In the ironic video.
Joey was like, how ironic has your day been? Just be honest. Just tell me how ironic it's been just today. What a great album. Welcome, everyone, to I Think Not, where nothing is sacred, and if you get a spray tan, we're going to talk about it. I am Ellen Marsh, and across from me is Giuseppe Torrentino.
Hey, so nice to be here. I will wash this off in 7 days.
Welcome to I Think Not, the podcast where we recap your true crime TV shows. And this show we are doing this month came by high popular demand. I would actually call it online harassment, actually.
Yep.
And that is Mean Girl Murders. But we are at the end of the road, and if you want the series that we do a little bit more of, we go a little bit in depth, and quite frankly, we tell a lot more secrets. You're going to find that on the Patreon.
Yeah, you are. For as little as $5, you can get 4 bonus episodes a month. We also do a true crime adjacent, which was Love After Lockup, and now we are doing The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Turns out, many secrets.
So many. Mostly, how did they get their hair like that?
That hair is shellacked. It's not moving. Also, if you just want a little bit more community, it's a great way to participate. We've got paint parties, we've got watch parties, we've got parties.
Yeah, I was telling a friend of mine who's trying to build their Patreon, they said, what perks do you give? And I was like, well, the first level gets 4 bonus episodes. She's like, oh, 4, okay. And I was like, the next level gets this, and then we do watch party. She's like, oh, watch party. And then I started going through all our stuff. I was like, yeah, maybe we are a little bit extra over here. She's like, I think I was like gonna do like a question and answer. I was like, you know what? Actually, that's better. We might have overcommitted. 9. I got 9.
How many of those did you take? I took 9. Yeah, I did, I think, slightly overcommit.
But you know what? I love it. We love it. I fucking love it.
Well, we do love it over there. So if you are interested and you just want to hang out with us a little bit, head over to patreon.com/IThinkNot. But don't forget, every Wednesday, we will be here in your general feed, honestly, whether you like it or not.
It's
we're
true.
We're going to be here, so swing by, because we're going to be here.
Yeah, we're like herpes. We're here forever and we don't go away. Bon appetit.
We're like rheumatoid arthritis. Not quite sure what it is. No, it's a little painful and it doesn't go away. But here we are.
We're like scoliosis. A little annoying, but it's doable.
We get an email from Harris. Hey guys, you're doing great. Could you not compare yourself to rheumatoid arthritis moving forward? Thanks. Love you. We got to get to the episode.
Do it.
Rick, I'm sorry. We love you. We're smack dab in the middle of our Mean Girl murder journey, and today is no different. We decided to skip episode 3. Well, go and watch it, and you can see why it wasn't quite our cup of tea.
It was episode 1.
But this one sure
It was
is.
episode 1 we skipped.
Well, continuing on with our Mean Girl murder journey, which we are smack dab in the middle of, let's continue on with Season 1, Episode 3, Desperate Texas Housewives.
It's episode 4.
Continuing on our journey, it's going great. I'm great. Joey has really gotten very good at correcting me, but I'm always wrong. That's the thing. He's actually correcting me on factual information that I'm getting wrong. So he's getting cuntier, but I'm getting stupider. Season 1, Episode 4, Desperate Texas Housewives.
Well, I think given the title of the episode, we should do a sort of Desperate Housewives / Real Housewives of Texas opener, don't you think?
Yes, I don't know what it is, but I'm so excited.
Rick, roll the music! I may be mean, but I'm also a cunt.
Who needs friends when I've got a magic wand and an extension cord?
I have brains, beauty, and an incurable stigmatism.
I may be stupid, but I'm also dumb with great tits.
Sleeping with me is a dream, but helping me remove my diaphragm afterward is an absolute nightmare.
I'll shut my legs when you shut your mouth.
Oh, God, I think we have a hit show in our hands.
I can't wait.
Well, we are in Princeton, Texas, which is about 25 miles north of Dallas, and journalist Casey Miller describes this town as a big little town. Can someone tell me what that means? Anyone?
I don't, a big town that's also a little town, but I cannot believe that you, Joey Taranto, skipped over the 2 cowboy hats we saw in less than 12 minutes. Like, there were 2 cowboy hats. You just wanted to skip by it? Like, I feel like my image of a cowboy is actually just like a gay man cosplaying, like wearing a costume. That's not what these guys look like. But still, I can't believe you skipped right over the cowboy hats.
I mean, we are in Texas, you know?
I know. They just wear them willy-nilly?
Yeah, and they say thank you.
Like you said, it's a big little town, whatever that means. And then the narrator says,
these tree-lined streets are full of working moms and housewives, but a few women are just plain bored.
Could you imagine being bored? I yearn to be bored. It's actually a goal of mine. Like, could you imagine just like being like, my chores are done, my house projects are done.
Yeah.
No, I am downright bored.
It's not in your DNA, my love.
I don't know. I long for the days of being bored. Someone teach me how to be bored. That sounds hilarious.
Well, then journalist Casey Miller says this.
In small towns, especially in Texas, things go on beneath the surface. There are jealousies, there are allegiances. People, for better or worse, kind of know each other's business.
And for those reasons, I'm out. Call me Mr. Wonderful. This is Shark Tank. For those reasons, I'm out.
Poor Joey. I can't wait for you to like be in your olden years and then you end up being somewhere like Palm Springs and you're like, well, I'm right back where I started. Everybody. You can't wear that banana leaf caftan, sir, and not be recognized. I'm so sorry. Well, Cliff, who's a journalist, and I don't know why he needed a journalism degree to say this, says that in small towns such as this, there's gossip and also frenemies. What do you think of the term frenemies, Joey?
I mean, I don't have frenemies in my life. That is not a thing. Maybe in my 20s I did, but like I only have space for ride or dies. That's it.
Right.
Because the little time I have, I want to spend it with people who I know have my back.
Well, what do you define as a frenemy?
I think someone that you go out with and you're social with, but probably somebody that you compete with, somebody that talks shit about you behind your back, somebody that always makes you feel like you can't fully relax in front of them.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the same. Like somebody you pretend to be nice to. I just don't like the word friend being in here. I feel like they should be called like acquaintanemies or something like that. Because the word friend means that like you're close to them, right?
Well, you know, there's that term, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. And sometimes in a small town like this, where you're running in the same circles and you're bound to see Margaret at church service on Sunday, you kind of have to like play your cards right.
God, I fucking hate that woman. She is a...
Also, let me tell you, when anyone has too much time on their hands, I don't care if they're a man, woman, they, them, if they have too much time on their hands and they're inclined to be nosy, that's a recipe for disaster.
So Kaden is here, and Kaden is the daughter of our subject today, and that is Kelly Underwood. But Kaden hates Princeton. She hates it. Everybody gossips. It's awful. Don't go there. Nothing good happens there. She's like, you know, our Dairy Queen doesn't even taste the same here. Don't come here. She's like, whatever the tourism board is for Princeton, Kaden's like the opposite.
I'm like, Kaden's seen some things.
Yeah.
She has no qualms about telling you the truth. She's like, you could get a Coke at the DQ if you're thirsty. You could just get a Coke, but it'll be flat.
Everything's bad here. Everything's bad. The neighbors are bad. The shrubbery is bad. The people are bad. The gossip is bad. You know, the Waffle House, though, also bad.
Waffle House. There's something I haven't heard in a while. Do yourself a favor and look and search Waffle House on TikTok. Enjoy.
Kelly Underwood knows all about the female dynamics of small town life. The born and bred Texas girl grew up in a town about 50 miles away called Mesquite.
Now, there's a lot of folks here. We got a lot of talking heads that are here to say nice things about Kelly, and most of them have known her since grade school, you know? And I forget that is a hallmark of a small town is that you grew up with all these people, you end up having kids with all these people, they are ingrained in your lives. And one friend says, I went to junior high with Kelly, and she was your typical 80s girl.
Gather around the campfire, children. I would love to talk about the 80s.
Yes.
Oh, the 80s were a magical time, children. Fashion rules were thrown out the window. We wore something called biker shorts.
I mean, people
and
wear
they
those
were
now.
shorts made of a very flexible fabric, and you wore them for protection.
Yeah, no, people wear those now, my love.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, let me do another one. Oh, children, it was a time to be alive. We wore these pants called leggings, and you would wear an oversized sweatshirt, and that were...
Ellen,
Huh?
Ellen, people wear those now. We have that now.
People wear leggings?
Oh, yeah.
Let me do another one. Okay. Gather round the campfire, children. I want to tell you a story about a time where we wore purses around our waist.
Ellen,
They
Ellen.
were called...
People wear fanny packs today. I wear fanny packs.
Fuck. Okay, you know what? Forget it. I guess you all know everything. The 80s and 90s are back. Keep going.
But you know what does not need to make a comeback? Broccoli bangs. We don't need broccoli
No.
bangs. No more broccoli bangs. And so here's the thing. Kelly was a knockout in high school, but people like to talk shit at this school, and especially the girls, and they're, starting rumors, the works.
I mean, you don't need to be a part of a small town. Like, there's always cliques and hierarchies and underground popularity contests. Like, girls are horrible in high school. Why are we like that?
Yeah, I mean, guys are pretty bad too. But here's the
Yeah?
thing about Kelly. Kelly played a nice game of I will match your energy. So if someone fucked with Kelly, they only did it once because she would call that shit out, tell them to their face every which way they could go and fuck themselves, and that would be that.
Are you the captain of the I Will Match Your Energy varsity team?
I'm the president and the CEO. Yeah, listen, here's the thing. I don't want to fight with anybody. I really don't. Like, who's got the time and the energy? But I'm telling you now, if you go around talking shit about me,
You're gonna get hit.
no, I don't hit anymore. But we're going to have a conversation, and one of us might be going to the boneyards.
Well, her old friend explains Kelly, and I don't know if they were explaining Kelly or Joey Taranto, but here we are.
Kelly had a lot of spirit, had a lot of energy. I knew that if someone did approach her or confront her, they probably wouldn't repeat that attempt. They probably would realize it might not have been that good of an idea.
That is the nicest way of saying people didn't fuck with Kelly. I appreciate it, but I love it when people are so nice on these documentaries. People might have reconsidered when crossing paths with Joey Taranto.
I'm just saying, you could try it, but it'll be once and on once only. Yeah, now Kelly also had a best friend in high school named Tiffany, and Tiffany was also very spirited. They sort of bonded over that, but they had a ton of fun. They were each other's ride or die. You gotta have a ride or die.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, hit it, Rick.
And friends are friends forever, if the Lord's the Lord of them.
How many of y'all were just triggered? I know at least half of you.
They were besties. They were loud. They had a blast. And then they graduated, and Tiffany moved from Mesquite to Princeton, and they kind of drifted. I mean, pre-Facebook, what are you going to do,
Yeah, it's hard.
So it's 1996. Tiffany got married to a man named Ronnie Welburn. And then Kelly, she, had a couple of failed marriages, haven't we all? Totally fine. And she also had 3 kids, and
Yeah.
she was kind of all by herself.
Yeah.
And now that brings us to fall of 2012.
Yeah, Kelly was struggling. It's not easy being a single mom, even having one. I tell you all the time, I don't know how you do it.
Drugs.
Yeah, it's not easy. And being a single mom of 3, she was struggling, and she and Tiffany had sort of reconnected. And she was telling Tiffany, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm doing this. And Tiffany said, you know what? I love you. I miss you. It's just me and Ronnie in this house. What if you move to Princeton? You guys can come stay with us until you get on your feet. Now, let me tell you something. That has all the potential of going sideways. I love my best friends, but like it would take some extreme circumstances for me to invite even my closest friends to come and live with me.
Well, I would imagine that in Princeton, Texas, there's a little bit more real estate than your one bedroom in Harlem. I feel like there might be maybe another floor, mayhaps. A little bit of space, a little bit of distance. Like we're snuggled in bed. You're like, Ellen, we've been sharing a bed for 7 months. When do you think you're going to move out?
Let me tell you something. My best friend Rob in New York, in my 20s, there was a whole year where I slept on his couch and we just made it work.
The shit we used to do when we were young.
Yeah. Well, Kelly took her up on this offer. And you know what? It worked out for quite a while. They turned into one big happy family. They had family meals together. And Ronnie even gave Kelly a job at the business he owned.
Now, because Kelly was working with Ronnie, obviously they were spending more time together. This didn't make Tiffany feel good. And she started to get a little suspicious of the time that they were spending, like working together and sort of like going to and from work. And Tiffany starts to get a tickle in her tummy and she starts to suspect an affair. Now, here's the thing, the affair wasn't really based on any kind of fact, and the narrator says so.
While Tiffany has no proof, she becomes fixated on the idea that Ronnie and Kelly are having an affair.
Honestly, I feel like that should be admissible in court. They're like, Your Honor, he's cheating. And the judge is like, what's the evidence? And she's like, vibes. And the judge is like, good enough for me. I sentence you to, I don't know, whatever she thinks is fair. Case dismissed. See you later. Bye. Click.
This is why you should not be in law enforcement because this is the same person who advocated for jailing men for looking at you.
Well, I stand by that. Sir, how long did you need? I rest my case, Your Honor. I'd be like, the vibes are off. What do you want me to do?
But here's the thing, y'all. Ronnie was very friendly to Kelly, but also very friendly to Kelly's daughter, Kaden, you know? And so one day, Kelly's daughter, Kaden, comes home and she sees Tiffany packing in a fury. Everything came to a head and she's like, what's going on? And Kelly's like, Tiffany, what are you doing? I am not squatting in your husband's pickle patch. Like, there's nothing going on. And like, he's a good man. He's been good to me, good to my daughter, good to you. Like, why do you want to do this? And Tiffany was like, well, if you think he's so great, if you're so worried about it, you can stay and take my place.
Ooh.
It's bad.
But a little bit more comes out because we find out that this is all just stemming from past trauma because Ronnie's actually cheated a couple times before, and Tiffany was like, I mean, I get it. I'm going to teach you about women, Joey, for when you get into a relationship with when you find a woman you want to settle down with.
Fuck yeah, tell me about women. I want to know what love is.
Don't.
I want you to show me.
Here's the thing. Don't get upset when a woman is mad. You need to get upset when a woman is indifferent.
Oh.
When a woman stops arguing and she is checked out, because you shouldn't fear a woman who's angry. You should fear a woman who's silent. So if she was just like packing her stuff and she's like, take them.
Yeah.
She's done. A woman who argues still cares, and she's there. So, like, this must have been a pattern because, you know, they said a couple times, how many is a couple? Is it 2? Is it 6? Is it 8?
Yeah.
I think she was like, the straw was the final one, as they say.
Yeah, she's like, I have felt this pang in my stomach before, and I know what it means. I'm not waiting to find out how it ends. And it's like you always say, you can take a piece of paper, crumple it up, and then try to flatten it all out. But there will always be evidence that that piece of paper was balled up at some point.
Yeah. She was just done.
She said she would never done that to Tiffany, especially with everything that Tiffany had done for her.
When Tiffany moves out, Kelly is still working at Express Fabrications.
Meanwhile, Ronnie switches Kelly from the manufacturing...
Manufacturing!
Wait, the secret woman! See, this move from the manufacturing floor to the fucking office manager, okay? Just go with me.
I am not. Listen, Ronnie, I'm gonna need a raise. I don't want to be manufacturing. Manufacturing. I want to move to the office. Manufacturing is not, it's just not feeding my soul.
What's your new job title? I am head of the WEBA department. So, things are going great for Kelly. She's the office manager. In the meantime, Tiffany is filed for divorce. And Kelly and Caden are like, I think we're just going to stay put in this house because we don't have anywhere to go.
I know, it's so weird. Like, that is a weird dynamic because Kelly and Tiffany were best friends, and she's like, cool. My best friend was just here. She just sang a lovely song by Donna Summer and Barbra Streisand as she walked out the door. But, like, I like it here. I'm comfortable here. My daughter goes to high school here. And they stayed. Like, I get both sides, but don't you think that dynamic would be weird if they, in fact, weren't doing the horizontal foxtrot?
It is very awkward, and in a small town where people talk, having to explain that and not feeling, I wouldn't want to have to explain it to every passerby. Like, it is a very uncomfortable situation. In my mind, it seems like she stayed because there literally was nowhere to go. Also, folks, I don't know if you know this, but at Ellen's very first cabaret in New York at 54 Below, she and I sung Enough is Enough by Barbra Streisand and Donna Summer. Rick, hit it!
Enough is enough. I can't go on. I can't go on. No more now. Enough is enough. Is enough. I want him out. I want him out. No door now. Enough is enough. Is enough. Is enough. Is enough. Is enough.
So, not to get too far off the path, but what we did was I had two of my best friends who are two of the best singers I know, Courtney, our friend Courtney, she was Wolfson at the time, and Joey, and we sang like male-female duets and female-female duets, and Joey and I sang the female-female, and Courtney and I sang the male-female duets. That was a great medley.
And that's Cats.
And that's
That was a very fun night. Remember how blackout drunk I was?
I do. We had to dub over the second night.
Anyway, so here's the thing. Nobody really cares about Kelly's financial situation or the reason she stayed. The rumors are swirling. They are circulating. And now it starts because Kelly finds a Post-it note on her rearview mirror that says homewrecker on it.
And so she was like, oh my God, Romeo and Michelle invented those. But still, that's really mean. She was finding them outside of her car, but when she really started to feel unsafe and unsettled is when she started finding the Post-its in her car.
Yep.
That would absolutely freak me out too.
Yeah, it's not easy to break into a car.
Believe me, I've tried. What was the rest of that sentence? I broke into a couple cars.
Within the month, we ended up moving into the Bonnie View apartments. She's just like, okay, I moved, I left. I removed myself from that situation, even though she still worked with Ronnie.
Now, here's the thing. Kelly had a lot of work privileges because of Ronnie. Mm-hmm. Privileges that you don't normally get at your regular job. Like, yeah, you need something, go use the corporate credit card, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until Kelly had a conversation with a friend telling this friend about the perks of her job that the friend was like, yeah, that's more than like a boss-employee relationship. It sounds like Ronnie is into you. Have you ever considered that? And Kelly was like, actually, I haven't, but now that I think about it, yeah, I think there might be feelings there.
So they start dating. They're like, if everyone thinks we're dating, we might as well just date. Not too long into this weird side relationship, Kelly starts to get the tummy tickle that she thinks there's another woman. And is not Tiffany, his ex-wife, he did have another woman. And her name was Katie with a D. So her name was Kerry. Hi, my name's Kerry.
I'm looking for Caddy. It's Katie.
Kerry. It's a rolling D.
It turns out that her full name is Katie Robinson. It turns out that within the week of Kelly moving out of Ronnie's house, he had moved Katie in. Men are pigs.
What are you saying that as like a thesis statement? Are you saying that as new information you have discovered?
I'm just saying, my God, like, I don't know if this guy is a narcissist. I don't know if this guy doesn't know how to be alone. I don't know what it is, but like, it's like Suzanne Sugar Baker said on Designing Women. A man who burns a candle at both ends usually ends up with a very short wick.
Is that a dick joke?
I wouldn't think about it too hard.
Okay, yeah. Okay, all right. I don't know.
You know, and that's humor. I don't know if you guys know that. That's comedy. When you have to explain your joke, that means it's a hit.
Also, I don't understand. This man has his ex-wife, his ex-wife's best friend / roommate, and this other woman. This man is not hot at all. He looks like he survives on a diet of like used dental floss and
Vienna sausages.
yeah. Like, I don't know what we're doing. Like I don't know.
I guess everybody's scraping the bottom of the barrel here in Princeton.
I don't know. Like, this man has 3 women. Like, quick question. Are you fucking kidding me?
I don't know. And here's the thing. Katie was in her 20s, and apparently Katie and Kelly had a lot in common. They're both headstrong. They're both smart, no nonsense kind of women. And it's giving Does He Love You by Reba McEntire and Linda Davis.
Does he love you?
Does he love you?
Like he loves me.
Like he loves me.
Does he think of you?
Does he think of you?
When he's holding me.
Yeah, it's the basis of drama. And so Ronnie's in the middle. And the thing is that he had every intention of continuing on with both women.
Sure, he was strategically put in the middle by himself. He was not in the middle of some kind of thing that he didn't completely orchestrate on his own.
Oh, of course. And he denied it to both women. He's like, what? There's nobody else. It's just you.
Which is fine. If it's out there, we love a poly situation. We love a polycule. This was not that.
No.
Cheating, possible lies and deception, it becomes a bigger, more complicated human mess, for lack of a better word.
So now it's becoming very dramatic and very complicated in this very small town where everyone very much likes to gossip. And this goes on for years. Girl, tell that man every which way he can go and fuck himself. And so 3 years later, we hit September 20th, 2017.
Now, Kaden has not heard from her mom, Kelly. So she goes over to Mama Kelly's house and she walks in and the kitchen is a mess. She's like, well, that's off. It was such a mess. It looked like everything had been abandoned. Like there was a party and then a fire drill and no one came back. And she's like, this is just not the way my mom leaves the house. Something definitely felt off to her. So she goes up and she goes upstairs. Again, everything looks a mess. And she walks into her mom's craft room, which, see, they do have bigger houses in Princeton, Texas. And her mom is on the floor. Yeah. And she thinks maybe something happened, like she passed out or something happens, until she touches her mom. She didn't pass out. She was ice cold.
Yeah. I think at this point, she then was able to take in the scene and really see what was in front of her. So she calls 911, and investigator AJ Jumper arrives on the scene with Texas Ranger Bruce Sherman, who is very explicit that he got the call at church. He had to leave church to come to the scene.
Now listen, there's only 2 things that are going to pull me out of church. Work and my grandmammy's rhubarb pie.
Yes.
Now, rhubarb pie might not sound like an emergency, but if you do not eat that pie fresh out of the oven, the Lord Jesus Christ from up above will strike you down. Those are the only 2 things that are going to pull me away from church.
Is that in the New Testament?
Yeah, it's in the King George version.
I love that guy. Full of wisdom. So upon entering the house, they immediately notice that the house is a mess. And they're like, there has 100% been a struggle here. I mean, there's shit knocked over everywhere. And meanwhile, in the kitchen, there was food and beverages out on the counter like she had been hosting a dinner party. So she must have had company over, and they are very strategic. They take the plates and the utensils with the intention of having them tested later on for DNA, and that's when they head upstairs.
Something really terrible and violent had happened. The stab wounds to Kelly were on her neck and her face and head. A lot of the gunshot wounds were spread out from head to toe.
This is really strange. I can't remember a case where we've covered something like this. I'm sure there is one. 2 weapons? Was there 2 people? Or did someone do one thing and another? That is really confusing. I can't think of a case off the top of my head. I know there are some, but were 2 different weapons?
It is very unusual, and it's a very violent crime. It's I know we hate this term, but it is overkill.
Yeah,
and,
it really is, yeah.
They also were able to deduce that Kelly perhaps had been dead for several days. Mm-hmm. Now, the bullet casings they found at the scene belonged to a .22 caliber gun, and none of the murder weapons were found at the scene. And it is clear to them there must have been more than one killer. So now they bring daughter Kaden in for questioning, and they are very delicate with her because, again, she's just found her mother deceased. She is processing in real time. She's in shock. She's grieving, but they have to ask her some questions while the details are still fresh in her mind.
Yeah. It's always such an interesting experiment, or like you're watching an experiment, because she was very much put together in the sense that she knew she had to give as much information as possible.
Yeah.
It's just strange how shock hits different people different ways,
Yeah.
because she very much loved her mom. She was very sad and grief-stricken, but like it was almost like she knew she needed to help out.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out Kaden is an absolute down bitch and massively helps with this investigation. But it's just such an interesting thing to watch how different people react in these tragic scenarios, because she was so cognizant and she was so helpful with everything she was saying.
And she was so young. That's the thing. This story starts when she's 15, but at this point she's 18. And that's still very young. And so basically she tells investigators that she hadn't heard from, again, I haven't heard from my mother in 5 days. And then she fills them in on all the major players in Kelly's life. And she catches them up on all the drama. And the first name she gives them is Ronnie's. And she explains that Ronnie is Kelly's boss/boyfriend in quotations.
Now, Lieutenant with the cowboy hat says,
It was probably some bad blood.
I mean, you can say that again. You know who else wrote a song called Bad Blood, my love?
Does her name rhyme with Blair or Blift?
Yeah, I didn't know if I didn't know if you knew some of her other songs, or you knew some of her other work.
She's got, she has a big hit. I don't know if you know this, but she really is the writer of our generation.
Yeah.
She has this song. Do you want me to sing it for you?
If you don't mind, I would love it. Yeah.
Yeah. It goes like this. Cars, they come and go, but I stay here, surrounded by queers, and when I look up at the sky, it's looking down on me and it says, what have you been up to? I don't know, 'cause I lost my way the other day, and now I'm eating a burger with Mom. Mommy's here, Daddy's here, but where is my cousin Jack? It's a hit. It's a hit. Yeah.
Do we ever find out what happens to Jack, or does that remain a mystery?
That's on the next album. That is what every Taylor Swift song sounds like to me. Now listen, to all you Swifties, no hatred to you, because listen, Bad Blood is a great song. 'Cause now we got bad blood. I mean, those hooks get in my head, but it's also just like unseasoned chicken.
Oh, boy. Well,
I love that you set me up because you love when I do that, and you just set me up to write a Taylor Swift song.
Your face.
Right off I love writing Taylor Swift songs right off the top of my head.
I'm just going to corner you into doing a bit. That's bit by bullying. That's what that is. So yes, there was bad blood, and it's quite complicated because we've got Ronnie, we've got Tiffany, we've got Kelly, who is now deceased, and we need to figure out what happened. So all they knew is they need to get Ronnie in this office. They need to ask him some basic questions. And this interrogation reads like a country song. It was like, well, my wife's best friend moved in.
Yep.
And I put my P in her V.
Yep.
Then my first wife left me. I dated a lady named Katie. Oh, that rhymes with me.
It does.
But I also stuck it to this other girl, Katie. I was like, sir, he says it so matter-of-factly, which I guess, you would think if someone's telling the truth, they're just going to tell everything, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, this man is spilling his guts. When they asked Ronnie, when was the last time you saw Kelly? He says, I saw her Friday around 12:30, 1 o'clock. I was there for 15, 20 minutes dropping off some paperwork. So Ronnie visited Kelly on Friday afternoon. And from what they know, Kelly died in the early hours of Sunday morning.
Right. So Ronnie goes on to sing his country song about his life and explained that he also has a girlfriend who he lived with. Some new information we did not know, though.
Yep.
While Ronnie was having an affair with Kelly, he also was living with the mother of his most recent child.
Katie's baby had come as a bombshell to Kelly.
So he was dating Kelly, who he lived with. He was also dating Katie, who he had a baby with. Does anyone see where it's complicated? You know when you have that option on Facebook to be like married, single, he's like, it's complicated.
Yeah, but you know what's not complicated? That this man is a piece of shit. This man ain't no better than a baseball cap made of horse shit.
It's true. Honestly, seeing pictures of him and watching, he gives me like douche bumps. Like, you know, it's like opposite of goosebumps. It's like, ooh, like don't get near my drink.
Yeah,
you know?
It's literally. So here's what Ronnie says. Kelly knew about Katie, but she didn't think that it was that serious until the previous New Year's Eve when a mutual of Ronnie's told Kelly, you know, Katie's pregnant with Ronnie's baby. And she had a very strong reaction to that because all this time, again, she thought it was casual. She was just like, I mean, whatever, he's fucking this girl on the side. I'm like, how casual could it have been if he moved her in a week after you left? You know?
Exactly.
Sometimes we tell ourselves stories. We're all guilty of it. But I think the fact that Katie was having his baby, that was it for her. And so she really struggled with that information. In fact, she called daughter Caden in a panic and was like, I can't believe this guy is doing this to me. Like, I cannot believe he's having a baby with her. And now she's confronted with the fact that I think that she was avoiding, that Ronnie is very much living a double life.
So now law enforcement has to sort of look into this love triangle, right?
Yeah.
So they question Katie, and Katie's like, honestly, I'm totally with Ronnie. I had no idea he had a thing with Kelly. And she also seemed really unbothered by it. She's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, Ronnie and I live together. We have a kid together. I don't know what else to tell you. I did not know about Kelly. I did not know he was having an affair. Like, we've both been duped. And Katie didn't really have much information beyond that to share with law enforcement.
Yeah, so now police are like, well, it's time to canvass Kelly's neighborhood. And having nosy neighbors can come in clutch in certain situations. This was one of them.
Some of the neighbors noticed a truck with an out-of-state license plate, Illinois, was there at Kelly's house that weekend.
We were thinking, it's like, she has a Yankee at her house.
Mm-hmm.
A Yankee?
And so they ask Ronnie about the truck. They're like, did you know anything about the truck that was parked outside of Kelly's the weekend before her murder? He's like, listen, it wasn't my truck. I'm pretty sure I know whose truck it is. And it was Robert Veal's truck. Now, when I was noting this, I didn't think this was a very big admission. And literally just now looking back at it, I'm like, why did he say this?
Yeah.
Why did he tell them that this was this guy's truck? More on that later.
Dustin, are you dying to hear how it ends?
He's not listening in real time, is he? Poor guy.
He is.
I'm sure
Yeah.
He is? Dustin, don't you do good podcasts? He's like, these two, they go off topic way too much. 1 star. Well, tell the DBs who Dustin is.
Oh, sorry. It took me a second.
Did you just glitch?
I did glitch.
You guys, Joey just stared. If you're on YouTube, Parker, keep that because Joey just went zzz, beady bong.
Well, Dustin is the producer here.
Dustin is a man.
Dustin is a man who has been kind enough to let me use his studio here at HOK Productions. And so thank you, Dustin. You've hooked us up. Also, look at the set.
I know. It's a really nice set. And he's a friend of our dear Harris. Harris calls him every day and she's like, do you have work for me? I'm in the market for a new job. Well, we're going to learn exactly who Robert Veal is. Do you want me to continue?
Yeah. Well, okay, I got it. Well, Robert Veal, no, go ahead and say it. Robert Veal worked at the warehouse.
You say it because it sounds better coming out of a man's mouth.
I'm glad that you admitted it, finally.
That's what I've learned in podcasting.
So Robert Veal worked at the warehouse that Ronnie owned. And so he had a great working relationship with both Kelly and Ronnie. So they bring Robert in for questioning. Now, Robert did not have a record, okay? He says, yeah, I was at her house a lot. I was supposed to install an above ground pool for her.
Which I genuinely did not know they had those in the South. I thought that was just an East Coast thing because of weather.
No, my aunt has one.
I really thought it was an East Coast thing because, like, they take them down in the winter. When they said that, I was like an above ground pool like my Auntie Gloria used to have. Like, my Auntie Gloria, like, come into the pool. I'm like, it's basically a tall paddle pool.
I think it's anything you can find in America. They were like, great, you were going to install an above ground pool. Can we have some of your DNA? And he was like, and they're like, also, side note, can we take a look at your phone? And he was cagey. he got real nervous.
He acts like a gay man, is what he does. Have you ever asked for a gay man's phone? Just try it. All of you go to your best gay and be like, hey, can I borrow your phone? You ask for my phone and I will be said gay man. Go, Joey.
Hey, Mark, can I take a look at your phone?
For what?
I just need to Google something real quick.
What do you need to Google?
Oh, it's just directions to Chipotle.
Yeah, I can look it up for you.
Oh, I mean, I could just do it myself. I'm driving.
Okay, here, I'm gonna hand it to you.
Uh-huh.
Only hit Google. Do not swipe right or left.
Okay.
Don't hit any of the, don't just hit the, I'm gonna hold it while you touch it, okay? Do not ask for a gay man's phone. That's basically what Robert does. He's got a plethora of dick pics in there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Don't ever swipe. If a gay man is showing you a picture, you look at it with no hands.
Just
You
say
look
that
at
it's
it like
me.
this.
Just tell the people it's me, okay? It is me.
I have known this man for 15 years. I have licked his tears off of his face with my own tongue, and this man will not let me touch his cell phone.
Ellen is like, what is this, your cell phone or the heart of the ocean? I don't understand.
When we asked Robert for consent to search his phone and he denied it, he starts tampering with his phone. And so it became pretty evident to us he was trying to destroy evidence. And so at that time, we seized the phone.
This man was not blessed with an overabundance of thinking skills.
No.
You can't delete the shit off your phone ever. Like, you can delete it. I mean, you can, but they're gonna freaking find it. Is anyone paying attention to the Karen Reed case? Like, they're gonna find your stuff.
Yeah, this man was a few French fries short of a Happy Meal. Meanwhile, back in Mesquite, Texas, where Kelly grew up, her friends and family hear the news and they can't believe it. It stops them all in their tracks. And a couple of her friends got together to discuss who could have done this and why. And immediately the first name that they spit out, Tiffany. And that is, again, to remind you, Ronnie's ex-wife who accused Kelly of having an affair with her husband. And so they decide to call the Princeton police with their suspicions.
But Tiffany was long gone. She left Ronnie.
Yeah.
Like, she was done. She wiped her hands. So after the murder, Ronnie continued to check on Kayden. Kayden was like his own daughter, and he wanted to make sure she was okay. But also someone else reached out to Kayden that was a little more off than Ronnie reaching out, and that was Katie. Katie sent her a message on Facebook, and basically she was trying to empathize with her. She's like, hey, Kayden, I know we don't know each other well, but I just wanted to let you know I heard what happened to your mom. I also lost my mom, so I deeply empathize and I understand. And if you ever need an ear or a shoulder, I'm here. And Kayden thought that was weird, but also really nice. You know, there are people that reach out in your time of need, and that's not super weird. And it was like they were a couple degrees of separation from each other, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I would think it was weird, too, that my mother's boyfriend's live-in girlfriend is reaching out to me on Facebook. But you know what I thought about is I understand why Kayden was like, I really appreciate this, because it's one thing to have someone pass in your life that you love. It's quite another to have someone that you are close to, a loved one, be murdered. It's a whole other experience, and not a lot of people can understand it. But to have someone reach out and say, I can't fully understand, but I want to be here for you, I'm sure it was very meaningful.
Absolutely.
As the investigation continues with no suspects identified, Kayden calls investigators for updates.
Kayden was very motivated to figure out who killed her mom.
Let me tell y'all, Kayden is the true down bitch of this episode because she took matters into her own hands.
Yeah, she went to DBU and she majored in, you all aren't going to do this investigation, I'll fucking do it. And she minored in, I'm going to canvass this fucking town.
Yep.
That, by the way, if you did, that's only available in the fall of every year. So if you miss it in the fall, you can't take it in the spring. You actually have to wait to the, that's just for future applicants.
Yep.
So people actually did have information. That's the thing we always see with these cases, right? Just ask a bunch of questions to everyone. Be the crazy person that's asking a bunch of questions, because that's how Kayden basically got the biggest break in the case, completely independent of any kind of law enforcement. Basically, a neighbor was like, yeah, I saw a man by the name of D. I knew him, I recognized, and I saw him over at Kelly's. Oh, by the way, do you know what D's full name is? Did you look it up?
Delvin Powell?
Oh, no, I have D's nuts. I think it's D's nuts.
Do you know in absolute earnest, fell for that? Like, truly believed you missed something?
Oh, God. I am a child. I apologize. What is it, Delvin? Okay, I'm just going to delete D's nuts. 1 second, if I can just.
Thank you very much. My God, I'm way too trusting of you. So, yes, I love this because, again, in a small town, there's always that one friend that you can call who knows all the tea. She knows everybody's business.
The pearl. I love a pearl.
Oh, honey, sitting in the window like 227. Kaden was like, if there's anyone who knows everyone's tea, it's this good girlfriend of mine. So she calls her and she goes, do you know who D is? And she goes, honey, sit down. Pour yourself a cup of tea. I got you. That is Delvin Powell. I know who he is.
But you didn't hear from me.
Exactly. And so Kaden's like, thank you very much. I got what I needed. And she brings that information to the cops. They run the name. Turns out that D has outstanding felony warrants for choking his girlfriend.
Yeah. So he has a domestic violence felony, a warrant out for his arrest, and this was the person that was at Kelly's house that night? That's terrifying. And Kaden is sufficiently worried now. So the Texas Rangers put on their cool, Texas Rangers hat, and the Princeton police, they go down to where they hear that Delvin is staying. And it was actually a motel that was not far from Princeton.
We searched the hotel room he was staying in, as well as the vehicle in the parking lot. And there were 22 bullets, the same caliber, which was used for the murder weapon for Kelly.
Now, remember, 22 calibers in Texas, very popular. You can use it for protection, target shooting, hunting, all of that stuff. But beyond that, they also found knives in his hotel room.
So he's arrested for those outstanding warrants. And now we hit October of 2017, and Kaden is so confused by all of this information. She's like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And it's been 2 weeks since Kelly's murder. Now, one of Kelly's best friends from Mesquite, Texas, had come to her house to help clean up the house. And it's a lot. I mean, and Kaden could not do it all on her own. And that's when he notices on the sidewalk, in chalk, someone had written, "A whore lives here." Now, again, it's been 2 weeks since her murder. So someone, one, is still very angry, and two, they just wrote this because, if they had written it 2 weeks ago, the rain would have washed it away. So someone did this very recently.
So finally, they're waiting for the DNA evidence to come back, which good luck, have fun with that. While they're waiting, Kelly's cell phone records come back, and they're hoping to get some indication as to who she was communicating with. Was she communicating with Delvin Powell? Was she communicating with Robert Veal? But they get a whole lot more information than they were anticipating.
Yeah, they do. Well, it turns out that 3 months prior to Kelly's murder in June of 2017, they see that Katie, Ronnie's live-in girlfriend and mother of his child, had texted Kelly. And she says, look, I know we haven't always been close. We haven't really been friends. But I'm about to have Ronnie's baby, and I just need to know the truth. Is there something going on? And it's important to note that once Kelly found out about the pregnancy, she cut things off with Ronnie. But he still did go to her home periodically for work things, dropping off paperwork, checks. And so Kelly responded to Katie by saying, nothing is happening. But after Katie had the baby, she became super suspicious and also paranoid, which is a terrible combination. And she started scoping out Kelly's house regularly.
Yeah, but here's the thing about your gut. It is rarely wrong because Katie wasn't being paranoid. Ronnie and Kelly did perk their relationship back up again. They rekindled those flames.
After the baby was born.
Yeah. So Katie wasn't being just, crazy jealous. So Ronnie tells Kelly that he is going to break up with Katie. And turns out they're able to retrace when the relationship picked back up. And that was in July of that year.
Yeah.
Ronnie showed up to my mom's house to drop off a check. Him and my mom were inside.
Katie sees Ronnie's truck at Kelly's house. So she goes over there and she starts looking through Ronnie's truck.
And there's a confrontation. Katie gets back in her car and Kelly follows her and she's yelling for her to get off of her property. It's all coming to a head.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because they made it sound like Katie was being really creepy. Didn't you think in like the episode? And I'm like, but she thinks that her father of her child is cheating. I don't know. I don't think they did this intentionally, but they kind of made it seem like she was being crazy.
Right.
A little bit. And like you just, not in all instances, but in a lot of instances, if a woman is acting crazy, it's probably because some man made her that way.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I also think that this is a 42-minute episode, and there's probably a lot more nuance to the dynamic between Katie and Kelly that we're not getting. And I would imagine that there was a big buildup to this.
Yeah.
But listen, let me tell you something. If I were her and I had just had someone's baby and it's so complicated because the woman that you were sleeping with also works for you and he has to go to your home to bring paperwork, it's so dicey.
She had been unintentionally the other woman. She was the other woman and she didn't even know it.
Well, that brings us to July 18th. Katie texts Kelly to say, I'm about to leave Ronnie and I hope you two will be very happy. Now, there is a text from Ronnie on August 6th, 2017 that says, good morning, I love you. Well, it was not a good morning for Kelly because she was like, fuck you, don't call me or text me. And I think she had just about enough of all of this shit.
And so one of the very last text messages from Ronnie said, I love you and I'm going to make you my wife. Sir, I am not one to be handing out relationship advice, Lord knows. But I do it all the time anyway because I am insufferable and I'm working on that in therapy. How about we just stop marrying and knocking people up and lying? And why don't you just go work on yourself, call your therapist? Like all of this drama with these 3 women, those text messages, she's like, get away. He's like, I love you. Let's get married. I want nothing to do with you. I can't wait for you to be my wife.
Yeah, it's very weird. And all over a man who looks like the little girl from The Ring. So now police end up speaking with a friend of Katie's who wanted to remain anonymous. We'll just call her Jackie O.
Yep.
So, Katie told Jackie O that she was planning to plant drugs in Kelly's car and get her arrested. But the plan wasn't working out, but there was a new plan. So detectives bring Katie in once again, and she says, I don't know shit, I wasn't involved. And the investigator at this point is calling her out and says, that is not true. That is a lie. You're lying. This is your opportunity to tell me the truth. Who did it? Who planned it? And what Katie doesn't know is that Detective Sherman, who is interrogating her right now, he has a lot more information than Katie is aware of.
Well, she keeps denying it. And there is no better feeling than knowing that someone is lying and knowing that they're lying and you know they're lying, but they don't know that you know that they're lying. It's so fun.
And you can prove that they're lying.
Yeah. You're just waiting there with like a shit-eating grin. It's like that Willy Wonka meme, just waiting.
Yep.
First, let me ask you this. Do you truly know anything about this murder? Don't lie to me, Katie, because you're lying right now.
These interrogation tactics are tacticking.
Yep.
Just emphatically saying, I know the truth. I don't know if he doesn't know all the details.
No, but he knows a lot, and it is enough to break Katie because she starts singing a very different tune. Katie says, well, okay, Ronnie was trying to get Kelly out of our lives because she was a problem for his business. He didn't trust her. She was very volatile. She would threaten to burn all the paperwork, shit like that. So he was terrified to fire her because he didn't know what she was capable of. And she was unpredictable. And they had to find a way to get rid of her. That's when Detective Sherman says, I know you didn't pull the trigger. What happened?
So finally she says, listen, okay, I'll tell you what I know. She knew about Delvin and Robert Veal. And she said, I know that Devin and Robert were over at Kelly's. And furthermore, she knows that Ronnie orchestrated them being there that night. In fact, paid them to be there. Katie was like, it was all Ronnie's deal. He arranged everything. And they're like, get Ronnie back in here right now.
Yep. And honey, Ronnie is barely sat down in his seat when Detective Sherman says, I'd be lying to you right now if I said you weren't in a whole heap of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much giving,
Molly, you in danger, girl.
It was so done, yeah.
Yeah, so Detective Sherman spells it out for Ronnie. He tells him everything he knows about his involvement. And honey, Ronnie folds like a lawn chair in front of the 4th of July fireworks. Ronnie is like, it was all my idea and mine alone. I gave $8,000 to Robert Veal to kill her. I gave him the gun, and Robert enlisted the help of Delvin. And it becomes clear that Ronnie is doing his best to keep Katie out of this.
Mm-hmm. Katie had nothing to do with it. She knows nothing. But is he telling the truth? I don't know. But you know what's adorable about cell phones? You can get a search warrant and you can find out all of that information. Your cell phone is like a diary coupled with every single bad thing, bad pictures. It's all in the phone. Every bad thing that's ever happened has been discovered in a phone, and this issue is no different.
It's true. When all of these anti-vaxxers are saying they're putting trackers in our arms, I was like, babe, your phone is your tracker.
That's it. They got you.
Do you think that they are injecting trackers in your arm so the government can watch you watching The Deadliest Catch for the 8th time today during COVID? Do you know what I mean?
Like, oh, that guy's boring as fuck. Next, let's spy on someone else.
Law enforcement gets a search warrant for both Katie and Ronnie's phone between August 18th and September 18th. Katie continues to push Ronnie. Why is she still in our lives? Why is she not gone?
And the truth is that Katie saw Kelly as an obstacle to having the life that she wanted with Ronnie. But the truth is that even if Kelly was out of the picture and they never got caught, there would always be another woman. Ronnie has proven that that is the kind of man he was. She was absolutely delusional. So Katie told Ronnie, you have 1 month to get rid of Kelly or I'm leaving and I'm taking the baby with me. So Ronnie felt that his hands were tied.
Yeah, and there were specific texts in there on how they were going to do it, what they were going to do. Now, remember, Robert Veal worked with Kelly. They had a previous, relationship, not romantic, but, they knew each other. They had a history. They had a camaraderie.
A rapport.
Yeah, right. So it wouldn't be crazy that Robert was over at Kelly's house. Then he texts Ronnie that he's going to go upstairs and do what needs to get done. Obviously, we know exactly what he's talking about. So he explains that, they eat dinner, everything was cool. They unplugged the cameras in the house, and they turned up the music really loud to mask any kind of noise. I would assume yelling or running or maybe even the gunshots. Basically, rewinding the whole scenario of looking like everything had been abandoned was probably because they were eating. And then they probably chased her upstairs, and she was running for her life.
And that's when she ended up in the craft room, and they followed her. Delvin most likely had the knife. Robert most likely had the gun. And around 2, 3 a.m., after it was all over, Robert sends a text to Ronnie saying, it's done. And now daughter Caden says, Ronnie really broke my heart with this. Because when we moved into the house with Tiffany and Ronnie, he acted like a second father to me. He took care of me. He was looking out for me even after all of this, when my mom died, and I feel robbed of someone. You know what I mean? Like, to lose your mother, but then you lose another loved one in your life, someone you thought that you could trust who actually took your mother's life.
Yeah.
It is cold-blooded.
Now we understand that this whole scheming involved Ronnie and Katie. And this next bit isn't really pertinent to the facts of the case, but emotionally, this was really hard for Caden to hear. Turns out Katie didn't lose her mom.
No.
She was just trying to get some weird psycho trust with Caden. So she made up this whole story in order to get a faux friendship with her so that it would, cover her tracks and so that she could empathize with her in some way. Obviously, that has no legal bearing on the case, but Caden's like, really? You lied about having a dead mom?
It's so fucked up. And in case you didn't know what a monster Katie is, we see her mugshot while Caden is telling this story. Y'all, she looks like Agra from the Dark Crystal. She's just...
On November 16th, 2017, Ronnie Wellborn, Katie Robinson, Robert Veal, and Delvin Powell are arrested for capital murder.
Now, Delvin and Robert were found guilty and given life with no possibility of parole. Ronnie took a plea because he knew that he could not go to court. If he did, he most likely would end up with the death penalty. And he was given life in prison. And on November 3rd, 2020, Katie Robinson pled guilty and was sentenced to 30 years with the possibility of parole.
Now, once all of those sentences were like handed out, Kaden and everyone involved were like, it was really Katie. It was all her idea. She's the one who gave the ultimatum. I'm not absolving Ronnie of anything, but she absolutely was the mastermind behind it all. 4 people involved because one woman wanted a very mediocre, mealy, pasty, weird man.
Yeah, it's really sad. And it also says to me how Katie viewed Kelly, and she viewed her as disposable.
Mm-hmm.
And to rob someone of a mother, because remember, Kelly had 3 kids. It wasn't just Kaden.
Yeah.
And I would imagine probably at that point she had grandkids.
Yeah.
It's really, really sad. And it's so funny that she focused on Kelly being the problem when Ronnie was the problem.
Yeah. What's weird, and I know this is a lot for some people to take in, you actually cannot have sex with people if you want to.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. So it's like, it's never life or death. It's never a dire situation. I know that was a lot to take in. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw all that at you guys at the end of the episode. I apologize.
Say it again for the cheap seats in the back.
Well, my cheap sheeps. Well, are those the cheap sheeps? Why not say something funny?
This was a dark episode. We did our best to lift it with some humor. I think we should end with a couple more Real Housewives taglines, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Rick, hit the music! Life may be short, but so is my dick.
I might be frugal with money, but I'm also frugal with patience.
Okay. Celine Dion once said, "My heart will go on, but I doubt this marriage will."
If ever I'm quiet, it's not because I don't have an opinion. It's because I'm stoned. This is a tambourine. The rhythm is gonna get you. Thank you, Down Bitches, so much for being here. We love you so much. Please follow us on social media at I Think Not Pod on TikTok and Instagram, and join our Facebook group. That's where we do all our announcements, all our parties, all our fun Patreon stuff. Come and play with us.
You can find us at the I Think Not Podcast Facebook discussion group. Also, again, if you want a little bonus material, get a little bit of extra stuff, some extra loving, go over to our Patreon at patreon.com/IThinkNot, and you can diggy-do and legate in amongst them. And if you're feeling fancy, it would mean the world to us if you could go over to iTunes, give us a 5-star review, and say something nice. And if you don't have anything nice to say, go to Robbie and Ellen's iTunes and say something there.
Yeah, I hear they love that.
And once again, a big thank you to Dustin over here at HOK Productions for letting me use his studio. Well, I had a good time over here in downtown LA. Am I in downtown, Dustin? Okay.
Until next time, Down Bitches, if you do have a moment, please give us a shout out on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Until next time, I love you, Joey.
I love you too, Yellow Martian. I love you, Denise. I love you, even this evening.
Love you, Down Bitches. Bye.
Oh, I'm sorry, Harris. I hate Taylor Swift.